think surprised me the most, Jason. And that is the Celtics versus the Pacers. So I, as you did, thought this might be a little closer. Seeing game one, I just don't think the Pacers have a chance in the series, Jason. I mean, this is probably the one where I'll have the most dramatic change in my original prediction. I had picked the Celtics to win in seven. I doubt this goes more than 5 games, Jason. I don't think that the Pacers can score. I don't think they have enough offense. And Kyrie Irving is the best player in the series, and Al Horford is the second best player of the series. And I just think that that's going to be overwhelming for the Pacers. It just looks like the Celtics outclass them. And I have to admit, Jason, I am very interested to see them play the Bucks in the second round. I think they're going to give them a series. Obviously, they won last year, and I think the Giannis Tatum matchup is going to be very interesting, and I think that could be one heck of a series that we end up seeing. What about you? Are you still confident in your Pacers who you picked to win in six?
Listen, I've eaten my words enough on this show, Ben. I'm not ready to do it again. I think Indiana will make this a series, but I want you to please hold it, okay? Before you think the Bucks are going to play the Celtics, because if the Nets beat Philly, they'll reseed, and the Nets will play Milwaukee as the six. So don't be banking on a Celtics Bucks second round series just yet, my friend, because the Nets have a chance, as do the Pacers. You can take that to the bank.
Oh, look at this guy. He's very confident in his Nets, and you know what? God bless
I'm
you,
not
you
saying the
deserve
Nets
it.
are going to win the series. I'm saying there's a chance. I still am saying Sixers in seven. I
So
think the
you're
talent will ultimately
saying
win it
there's a chance. Sorry.
slightly. But yeah, I mean, I was very surprised at the way the Celtics dominated that game. But I think with the way that the game ones went down and the way the game twos kind of balanced out, I think it's time to kind of shift our focus to the Western Conference because I think that's where the rest of our heroes and zeros come from. Now, I just want to mention my honorable hero of the week because we already kind of touched on the Golden State Clipper series, and we'll close out the show tonight with the other two series. Oh, well, three series because you have Denver, San Antonio as well. But how about that San Francisco citizen who saw Doc Rivers drop $2,000 in cash on the ground, tapped him on the shoulder, and said, "Hey, this is yours." I mean, in a world where so many tragic things happen, our hearts obviously go out to Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris and everything that happened. Thank God no one got hurt, and thank God the structure of the church was saved. But to see a feel good story like that, where Doc Rivers actually got his money returned to him, isn't that such a beautiful thing?
It absolutely is. And another thing that was pretty beautiful if you're a Clippers fan, Jason, was watching Lou Williams just absolutely pick apart those Warriors in game two of that series. And that's why Lou Williams is actually my hero of the week, Jason. He was dissecting the Warriors between his pick and roll, his passes, his lobs to Montrezl Harrell, who didn't miss a shot, and his ability to hit awkward floaters. Lou Williams ended up with a double-double, 36 points, 11 assists, absolutely killed the Warriors, and he's been doing it all season, Jason. Had one of his most efficient years, and while I think this series is over, as I mentioned, it was still amazing to watch Lou Williams do what he does to the very best of his ability. Any thoughts on this series, and if you think the Clippers have a chance?
See, I think we gave the Clippers a lot of credit earlier for their astounding comeback, and it is well deserved. But I said it's a short term thing. I don't think they can channel it into something long term to where they upset Golden State. I think the Warriors are too talented, even without Cousins, and that was what you were alluding to earlier in your heat check. So, no, I mean, it's great that Lou Williams is balling like this. I think he deserves to join a team that has a better chance at winning a ring than the Clippers do, even though he's locked up for a long time there. And he's a very loyal guy from, what I could see from him just from following him on watching the games and whatnot. But still, the Clippers are not winning this series, dude. No way.
Well, let's go to the other most interesting series, Jason. And I had said last week, I had said that of the picks that I made, the one that I was the least confident in actually winning the series was the Nuggets in 7 games. And Jason, the Spurs did it again. They steal game one. And currently, Jason, they're up 15 points in the second quarter. It's starting to look like the same old Spurs, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, and I believe you and I were texting this morning, and I said the inevitable Spurs rebuild is on hold yet again. It's the veteran savvy of DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Rudy Gay. You have the young play of Derek White. You have
Yeah.
Patty Mills, who's a seasoned vet. White's been unbelievable. But it just looks like the Nuggets are not ready for the moment. I mean, if they go down 2-0 at home, they are toast. And that is a big threat for the Golden State Warriors knocked out right there. So they better wake up and tie this series up. If not, I think this could be over pretty quickly. I know that you had the Nuggets in 7. I had the Nuggets in 6. Both our picks not looking too good right now, but we'll see what happens when the show runs. We can't be sitting here talking like it's a 2-0 Spurs lead because I think you and I will both be long sleeping by the time this game's over.
Well,
But
I mean,
shout out to the Spurs. They just won't go away.
and you know what, Jason, the thing about this series, when you looked at it ahead of time, is the Nuggets have more talent, but the Spurs just know what they want to do. They know exactly how they want to play, and they don't let anyone else decide the pace of the game, the style of the game. And you know what? I think you just got to give LaMarcus Aldridge a heck of a lot of credit, don't you, Jason? When you look at this guy, this is just a player who just does it every single year, and it pains me to this day that my beloved Chicago Bulls drafted him with the second pick to trade him for Tyrus Thomas. It will never ever go away, Jason. I will never forget it. It just kills me to this day. And LaMarcus Aldridge over his career, just one of the absolute steadiest big men in the league. A guy who just doesn't hurt you anywhere. Great defender, solid passer, good rebounder, decent shot blocker, doesn't turn the ball over at all. In fact, in his career, Jason, he's only once averaged even 2 turnovers a game, despite the fact that he's a guy who scores about 20 points a game every year. Just the consummate professional, hard worker, and honestly, Jason, to me, that's one of the things that makes this team go. He's just a great player. They found their kind of Tim Duncan guy, the quiet, efficient guy who just kind of leads the team. So, good for them. I'm excited to watch that. I still think that's going to be one of the most interesting series as we go. Two really good teams, great passing teams. Um, any other thoughts on the series before we move to the Blazers and Thunder?
The only thing I will say is that you may feel bad about that Tyrus Thomas LaMarcus Aldridge trade, but can we all feel bad that Andrea Bargnani was the top pick in that draft? The Raptors could have had LaMarcus Aldridge. They could have had Brandon Roy before his injuries. Rudy Gay was in that draft. JJ Redick was in that draft. I mean, Andrea Bargnani.
He had a couple good years in Toronto, but yeah, never going to get
Rajon
over
Rondo was in
LaMarcus
that draft.
Aldridge.
PJ Tucker was in that draft. I mean, the
Just
Nets with Kyle Lowry was in that draft. I mean, a lot of these vets came out of that draft. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to see the Spurs kind of just continue to shut everybody up, even with Kawhi Leonard. Imagine a scenario where the Spurs make it farther in the playoffs than the Raptors. Imagine.
whew, that would be something, but Jason, let's not put the cart ahead of the horse just yet. We got to see how this turns out. We will see. There were some other guys in that draft, but I think when you look at it, when it's all said and done, obviously Brandon Roy, really sad story. A guy who really could have been one of the best to come out of the draft, who injuries really derailed his career. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. I think that the guy who's going to come out of this draft as the best to play that year is going to be LaMarcus Aldridge, and he's still doing it, still plugging right away, even as he is turning 34 this year. Just unbelievable player. But with that, Jason, let's go to the Blazers, the Thunder. It was an interesting series at the outset, but obviously with no Nurkic, the Thunder became pretty heavy favorites, Jason, in Vegas, and yet those Portland Trail Blazers take game one behind Damian Lillard. What did you think?
This is Damian Lillard's moment, man, and this is where I give my hero of the week to the aforementioned Portland Trailblazers. Again, this game will tip off after we finish recording, so we're not going to dive too deep into this, but they steal game one. The Thunder did not look very good. Damian Lillard seized the moment here. LaMarcus Aldridge's former team, and that's why they're my hero of the week. The way they play, they lost Yusuf Nurkic to a devastating injury. And as Cantor is making Nick
Oh
fans
yeah.
all over, extremely queasy with his downs play. McCollum's starting to get his rhythm back. It's just a top to bottom, good, close knit team. And that's why they're giving the Thunder all sorts of fits. So the Blazers looking good. Obviously, there's still time for the Thunder to right the ship, but Portland's got home court, and they are one of the best home teams in the NBA. So I don't think either of us will really be surprised if Portland does win this series after they were upset by New Orleans last year. So bring it on. Go Pels. I mean, go Pels. Go Trailblazers. I need to go to sleep.
I'm just gonna say this right here. I mean, if I hadn't already picked my hero of the week, I'll tell you the backup I had, Jason. It's Enes Kanter, who honestly has come out and just done everything right since he got to the Blazers. He's kept his mouth shut for the most part. He's played good team basketball, and honestly, Jason, he has looked the part of the big man they need. And I will not be surprised one bit if he steps in and gives them 80% of what Nurkic did. He's not the defensive player, but he is an even better rebounder than Nurkic is, and he killed the Thunder in this last game. He is kind of a machine down there. He can hold Adams in check on the boards. 18 rebounds in game one, Jason, and that's just a sign of things to come. I think he's a nice little release valve for them. I'm interested to see how the Thunder kind of approach this team going forward, but the Blazers are not to be trifled with. They have enough to win this series if the Thunder take their foot off the gas. They have shooting outside. They've got one of their best core around Lillard and McCollum. It's a shame that Nurkic isn't there, but they still have enough to get this done. The key, of course, Jason, I think is going to be what happens with Paul George. Shoots 4 for 15 game one, 8 for 24 overall. His shoulder looks like it is not 100%. And if he cannot dominate the way he did during the regular season, where he averaged about 38 points a game against them, this could be Portland series.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And that's when the Thunder have to take a really long look at
Ooh.
themselves and start to really wonder what to make of this Paul George Russell Westbrook tandem. But I know there's one more series to kind of close out. We've seen one game, the Jazz and the Rockets. It was all Houston, and I believe you have something to say about that.
Oh, this, as much as you'd like to give Houston credit, and they deserve it, the Utah Jazz just did not look great. I actually got to watch a bit of this game while I was traveling, and man, oh man, Jason, the Utah Jazz just don't have it. And one of the things that we have seen now, a couple postseasons in a row, and look, they have time to fix it, Jason. I'm not trying to put the nail in the coffin yet, but Rudy Gobert just is not the same guy in the postseason, Jason. He cannot do what he does in the regular season, and teams are looking to get him on an island. If you watched what the Rockets did, they attacked Gobert. This is supposed to be the defensive player of the year, and they were attacking him left and right. Harden was not one bit afraid of Gobert. A lot of people, including myself, thought that Gobert could do what Brook Lopez did when they played the Bucks towards the end of the season, and James Harden put an end to that pretty quickly. And this series might likewise be ended quite quickly, Jason, if that continues. I had picked the Rockets to win in 7. I thought the Jazz really were going to push them a little bit. They'd had such a great finish to the season. They've played so well. But the truth is, Jason, they can't guard Harden. Not that anyone else can. But that might be enough for them to be losers in the first round, and that's why they are my zero of the week.
Yeah, it's a shame we have to end the show on such a sad note, though. Usually we kind of get the veggies out of the way, and then we kind of end with the dessert. I feel like we didn't do that tonight. So, do you have any like good jokes to kind of end on?
Well, I will say this, not a joke, but one thing that we can all look forward to is if the Rockets do win, they will play the Golden State Warriors. They will have the 1-4 matchup if they win, and that will be one heck of a series, Jason. If we get to see that, I am not going to be complaining, and I will be very excited to see what they can do against this Golden State team, ultimately